We're going to develop our part in a program called OnShape today. This program is a little bit unique because it runs in a browser similar to Google Docs. So you have to have the internet to work with it, but you don't have to install software and go through that whole process of, does this software work with my Mac or my Windows computer? And so this will allow you to get in very quickly and model at a high level fast. We're going to start today just by making this chip right here. And this is just for a lab so that the students can have their last name, a student ID number, and if they're using a piece of equipment, they can put this chip on it and let people know, hey, I'm still using this. Or if there's a problem, we can find out who that kid is very quickly. So we're going to go to Create, and we're going to open up our new document. I'm going to call it just chip. And so with it working similar to Google Docs, you also have the ability that you can have collaborators on it. And so I could 3D model over here, and you could 3D model over there, and your buddy could 3D model over here all at the same time, which is a wonderful advantage. If you're sort of a veteran to 3D modeling, this is a very similar interface for you. So you have like your history of parts, all your tools at the top, your Cartesian coordinate system right here that we're going to be modeling on, and a navigation cube. And so I can click on this corner and I can look at it in different directions. I can right click on my mouse and rotate a little bit. I can push down the scroll wheel and move things around, or I can always go back with my navigation cube. So we're going to make that chip, so we're going to have to be able to sketch first. And so we're going to sketch, and we're going to sketch on this top plane. The reason is that our desire is to 3D print this, and so that top plane is going to be similar to like the bed of our 3D printer. So I'm going to click there, it shows me that it's selected, and I'm going to select a circle. And instead of just starting anywhere, I'm going to start right here on the origin, so it's actually locked down to a spot and not just floating out in space. I can try to get the right number there for size, but I'm just going to select anywhere and then add a dimension. There we go. And I'm going to set this to be 1.5. And if you were really observant there, you notice that the color of my sketch went from blue to black there. And that's because the size was not fully constrained until I added the dimension. And so once I added the dimension, it became fully constrained, and thus it darkened the shape. And it's important if you're good at 3D modeling, you know that everything has to be fully constrained before you move on. And so that's just a visual cue for you to be able to know that. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to finish my sketch. And then you notice that all my tools up here changed. And I'm going to go into Extrude. And in Extrude, I'm going to select my circle. And I'm going to get a bit of depth. In this situation, I'm going to go 0.2. Adjust that for me. It looks appropriate, so that's a good thing. And I'm just going to select check. And so we have that, and now we need to add the hole right here. So I'm going to again go to sketch, and instead of selecting one of these major planes, I'm just going to select the top of my disk here. Go right there. And I'm going to draw a circle around top of it. I'm going to zoom in, just use my scroll wheel here. And if you notice here, if I get right there, it gives me the center of the circle and the origin in this plane right there to work with. And if I pull away, it gives me dots to sort of constrain that in a direction above it. So I'm going to start my circle directly vertical of it. Notice it's all blue right now, and I'm going to add the size. So I'm going to put this in at 0.325 for my diameter, and then I'm going to constrain it to the origin right there at 0.5. Looks good. This time, instead of finishing the sketch, I'm just going to go straight into Extrude. Alright, and you see that it jumped in and it assumed that I wanted to make it 1 inch extrusion vertically, and that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to take it from adding material to removing material. And instead of going to some arbitrary length of 1, I'm going to change it to through all. So it just goes through the entire width of the part. That way if I ever modify it, it'll just be a little bit easier to work with. I'm going to select check. Finishes my hole. I'm going to right click on my cursor. Alright, so it went through. That's really cool. And I just want to draw your attention real quick to over here. This is our history of our part. So you can see I made my first sketch, which was that circle. I extruded it. I made my second sketch, which was a circle on top of the face. And then I extruded and made that. And so this is sort of what's going on and what's happened so far. I'm now going to go, and instead of going to sketch this time, I'm actually going to derive a feature from the edges here. So I'm going to use the fillet tool. I'm going to set my radius to 0.05 just because it's small. This is just to make it look pretty. I'm going to click on edge, and you can see that it will slowly round those edges for me. And one more. There we go. I'm going to select check. And now what we have stronger edges that are a little bit more aesthetic, and that's wonderful. I've got to add my last sketch, which is my name, or a student's name, and we're going to use the text tool right here. Clicking in, and I'm going to put in student, and then 86753, yep, 309 is their ID number. And I'm actually going to make that bold just because it will print a little bit better for me. It's going to come in way out of proportion. So what's going on is it's using this length for the height of my letters, and then just adjusting the depth by the font and the number of, like, how long the line is. And this is just a standard spacing here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the height to 0.2, so it shrinks down a little bit. And then you're going to take the distance from it to the origin and pull it above the origin by going 0.25. Alright, so we have our origin, we have our part, and to fully constrain it, I've got to put one more dimension off to the left. So we're going to select this line here, select that point there, and I believe it's going to be about 0.62 or 3, that's fine. It's going to shift it over, perfect. And what you see is that now everything is black, so it's fully constrained, and we're able to work with it. And what's really neat is that this program allows me to extrude just text. And so I'm going to select extrude. I'm going to remove material again. And I'm going to make it really slight and just go 0.03. And select check. There we go. Wonderful, wonderful. I think we're in good shape there. I do want to point out that you can go back and modify anything. So if I wanted to go in and edit this and say, oh, 0.2 is too small, I can go through and change that and make it however wide that I desire. But then it will just back up and update the entire file for me. So that is our first part, and we should be in good shape. Good luck.